Up next is high schooler Krishna Mano, a sophomore at City High School in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Host of a news show called The Take, Krishna is passionate about promoting understanding between cultures. Enjoy his speech titled, Change Starts With Us, Becoming Global Citizens.
In mid-August, just before the school year started, I was at the 2023 Parliament of the World's Religions hosted in Chicago, where religious leaders and promoters of intersectionality come from around the world and discuss how we can make humanity's future more sustainable when it comes to accepting one another's religions, traditions, and cultures. I was in the bathroom just coming out of the stall to wash my hands, and I noticed that to my right, there was a priest waiting to enter the same stall. To my left was a Jewish rabbi leaving the bathroom, and directly in front of me were a Muslim imam and a Buddhist monk trying to figure out how to activate the motion-sensing paper dispenser. And here I was, a 14-year-old Hindu, watching the concept of interfaith unfold in front of my very eyes and morph from a possibility to reality in a bathroom. After all, as the saying goes, corporeal necessities are always great levelers. Now you might be wondering, who is this 14-year-old Hindu? Well, my name is Krishna Mano, and I'm a sophomore at City High School in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm a practicing Hindu, which is a minority religion here in the US. There have never really been many other Hindus at school, so I've had to navigate myself through various cultures, customs, and ways of life different from my own. For example, I remember painting an ornament in my second grade class to hang on a Christmas tree, and getting plastic Easter eggs filled with candy in third grade. But I never remember lighting a lamp at school for Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights, or celebrating Vishu, the Hindu New Year on the lunar calendar that happens in April, with my friends. As I was exposed to all these cultures different from my own, questions exploded in my brain. There were more whys in my mind than dinosaurs and Legos and whatever else it is that second graders think of. However, even in this, I found a solution. My brother, who at the time was in his first technology class in 5th grade, introduced me to what would soon become my new best friend, Google. I spent hours upon hours on my mom's computer researching different cultures and religions on the search engine, getting answers to my questions, and developing new ones. My brother always joked with me about how my head was similar to Hydra, the serpentine water monster in Greek mythology with regenerative features. For every question that I got an answer to, I would come up with 2 more. And if I wasn't aware of my Hindu DNA before that, it became apparent then. Because in the Hindu Dharma, questions are just as important as answers, and some would argue even more so. From all that research, apart from learning about Chinese New Year celebrations or the Sikh concept of Vismat, or wonder beyond comprehension, there was one thing that I understood most of all. The lack of interfaith and intercultural understanding we see in our world today has become as consequential of a problem than ever before. In our modern-day polarized world, there's a lack of this interfaith dialogue when we need it most. There are over 4,000 religions practiced around the world, and 8 billion different ways to practice them, one for every person on Earth. Meanwhile, as Pew Research Center found, the US itself has become far more polarized in the past years, with an increase in political and cultural divides by 21% from just 1994 to 2017. And this number has unfortunately only exponentially grown since then, not just in the US, but around the world. And with this polarization comes animosity for one another, based on arbitrary factors, factors that we have no say on, like race, religion, gender, color, and creed. And while this lack of understanding might not seem like a big deal at first, It's the cause of so many problems we see around the world today. The century-long conflict between Israel and Palestine is because of what each side considers to be their holy land. Millions of Uyghur Muslims are being persecuted in China because of their religious beliefs. Even in Ukraine, although geopolitics is a major cause of their war with Russia, interfaith and ethnic tensions tend to further fuel the divide. All these examples and so many more start in the same way, a lack of interfaith understanding, and inevitably end in the same way, inexcusable humanitarian crises and violations of inalienable rights that every human being is entitled to. During this process of understanding the world around us, with my trusty pal Google, of course, I understood something. The world is becoming increasingly polarized, and there is a lack of this interfaith conversation in our world when we need it most. Furthermore, I had experienced this idea of interfaith interaction every single day, in my daily life, at school, and even with friends, but never found a name or a community for it. As I read about these religious conflicts, I noticed how adverse humanity largely was to have conversations that crossed religious and ethnic boundaries. My curiosity to learn more about this lack of conversation and understand why it happens went far beyond the capabilities of Google and drove me to join the Kaufman Interfaith Leadership Scholars Program at Grand Valley State University. The Kaufman Scholars are a diverse group of middle and high school students from across West Michigan, dedicated to being a part of the change towards a more accepting, loving, and caring world through interfaith advocacy and educational programs. We are focused on trying to involve our peers who are largely absent from the interfaith community in cross-cultural conversation, and of spreading the importance of intersectionality, not just to our peers in a boring fashion through boring presentations or lectures, but rather with tangible action, showing them how to have those difficult discussions. From what I've seen, the Scholars Program has been so unique because of the fact that instead of it being adults teaching students, similar to what educational institutions are known to do around the world, it's students teaching students. Researchers call this system of learning a peer-based learning model, where in this case, teenage scholars share their personal experiences with fellow teenagers and explain how their faith intersects with other aspects of their identity and the society they interact with as a whole. The Scholars Program has been especially important to me because it has opened me up to a diverse array of beliefs, cultures, and traditions. It has taught me more about the world that I already know and has shown me a world that I knew nothing about. It was actually through the Scholars Program that I had the opportunity to attend and present at the 2023 Parliament of the World's Religions, which, like I said, was truly an eye-opening opportunity for me. You see, until then, I had only heard of and talked about interfaith as some far-out, distant concept. But when I saw these leaders representing various religions from around the world, ordering pizza together, solving problems in the bathroom, and just having conversations with one another, interfaith was no longer just an idea for me, it became reality. However, the Parliament only happens for 1 week, once every other year, and is a very minor example of how we can work together to mitigate the impacts of a lack of interfaith understanding. For the 103 weeks where the Parliament doesn't take place, how can we not just make up for this lack of interfaith, but also expand these solutions to impact the entire nation? How can we come together to drown out the hatred in this world and promote intersectionality? Well, introducing me to Google was quite definitely not my older brother's only contribution to my life. As he once told me, it all starts with understanding that there's an evident difference between being an ally and being an accomplice. It's not enough to simply be an ally, where you post on social media or attend a couple of protests. No, to make real change, you must be willing to be an accomplice, learning to have difficult conversations with people who are different from you. And although all of this around us is happening because of the neglect of the past generations, it is us, the next generation, who have to learn to become accomplices, or as I like to say, global citizens. Based on this, in order to bring the impact of the Kauffman Scholars Program across Michigan and show students how they can join the movement, I launched the Global Citizens Association earlier this year at my own school, City High School, as well as our middle school, with the mission of educating and promoting knowledgeable interfaith and intercultural dialogue among students. However, the most important solution of all is to use the skills learned from being an accomplice and becoming a global citizen, to call on elected officials, religious leaders, and those with power, to follow our lead of promoting interfaith cooperation in our world. And I emphasize the youth aspect of interfaith so much, because as Nelson Mandela beautifully put, the youth are the hope of our future. We have the power to change the world for the betterment of mankind, because with these actions, we aren't just changing the future, we are the future. The author and historian Tamim Ansari writes in The Invention of Yesterday, "We may never have a world we all share peacefully, but we won't ever have it if we don't build it." The challenge has always been to get at least an inkling of a perspective other than our own. It takes a lot of intellectual craning and neck stretching to picture the world from another center. But there's no other way to build a world community in which everybody is us and nobody is them. Our world parts away from reality and gets closer every day to a dystopian future, one in which our world is divided and we, the next generation, are the ones who fall, taking the hit for the mistakes of the past. However, it is up to us to take action, whether it be through initiatives like the Global Citizens Association or just learning to have those simple conversations with people who come from different backgrounds, cultures, or values. Change starts when we put our ideas into action. Change starts when we start standing up and speaking out. After all, change starts with us. Thank you.